2022 has well and truly begun, and with the first big release I want to play being later this month, it feels like the right time to think about all the exciting things coming out this year. From new titles from big companies to smaller releases that seem like they'll be emotive, we seem to be able to expect a lot of different things from JRPGs this year, and these 10 are just a handful of interesting releases from the year that have been announced at the time of making this video, and that I'm looking forward to playing most in another big year of games. So with that, these are my 10 most anticipated JRPGs for 2022 that I'm very excited to get to playing. The first game coming out that I'm excited to play this year is Pokemon Legends Arceus, the prequel to the Diamond and Pearl games that I just played, and I'm so excited to explore more in the gorgeous land of this upcoming game. The part that makes it very exciting is its scale and quality upgrade, with Pokemon's cute chibi formula being great and all in games like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but I think many have been wanting to see a bigger Pokemon world that takes full advantage of the Switch's capabilities, and the size of the world in the Arceus trailer seems much bigger and more open than other Pokemon games, so hopefully it will fulfill that wish and provide a fun Pokemon journey in a new way. It'll be out fairly soon with its release date of January 28th on Switch, so I'm looking forward to exploring it then and seeing what this bigger world of Pokemon truly has to offer. While last year I was expecting Atelier Rise of 3 to be announced, I have no complaints that instead we got an announcement for Atelier Sophie 2, the Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream, which will come to PS4, Switch, and PC on the 25th of February, and as an Atelier fan, it's probably my most anticipated game for this year so far. Thanks to the re-release of Atelier's Mysterious Trilogy last year in its DX forms, I was able to play Atelier Sophie for the first time last year, so this sequel to Sophie comes with good timing in that the journey is still fairly fresh in my mind, and with Sophie being an incredibly lovable character with her cute voice and messy Atelier, it'll be great to see where her adventures will take her in this sequel. Sophie 2 looks great visually too, taking the same level of quality and visuals as the Riser games, making the gorgeous character designs look even better. And while it seems to bring in some of the familiar enemy designs from Atelier, the fact that thieves will be accessible with a seamless battle transition is cool to see, and with many different gathering and synthesis mechanics that look interesting too, I'm excited to see how it feels to play and how it will combine the mechanics of the Mysterious Trilogy with the quality and exploration of newer Atelier. While February is already a crowded month of good games that I'll talk more about in this video, I won't be missing Atelier Sophie 2 for the world, and I'm looking forward to playing and probably talking about it a lot when it comes out, and hope time flies because I can't wait to play it. Probably my second most anticipated title for this year is Fumiu's new IP MONARK, a game with another darker aesthetic from them that has me super excited to try it out, as I love what they've done with games with that kind of feeling in the past. One of those types of games I've loved from them is the Caligula Effect 2, which was one of my honorable mentions for my favorite games from last year, and MONARK has some of that same feeling with it being set in a high school with a twist, but with the upgrade in visuals that Fumiu has needed to make it feel much more modern, especially with the fact that this title will also be coming to PS5. It also features a great group of stuff too, such as the director of CRYSTAR, another Fumiu game I loved, and other members who worked on the Shin Megami Tensei series that features a similar dark tone. So with good people on board and trailers that make it look very good, if the game gets me as excited as those do, I think it's a good sign that MONARK will be an interesting game to look out for this year. MONARK will be out on February 22nd for PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC, with its date being alarmingly close to Atelier Sophie 2 for me. I want to do my best to play at least a little bit of it though, and I hope this next title from CRYSTAR's director lives up to its interesting ideas of harnessing the power of ego on one of its 4 interesting paths to make for an interesting new JRPG story that I can't wait to dive into. Speaking of CRYSTAR, it was announced that NIS America will bring CRYSTAR to Switch this year, an announcement I didn't expect at all, but was very excited by, as it's a game I loved a lot a few years ago. Its story of a sudden trip to purgatory going horribly wrong was an interesting rabbit hole to dive into when I played it for the first time on PS4, and while it will take some time to play through it again to get to the post-game parts of it I want to play with more, with it also including the DLC for the original that I've been tempted by multiple times, it does seem like a great way to play with this title I loved again, but in portable form, especially if it runs well and with some fun costumes to play with. CRYSTAR will come to Switch in late March on the 29th, which is a nice distance away from Atelier, Sophie 2, and MONARK, although still relatively close to releases I'm looking forward to. But if all goes to plan, I at least want to look at how it will play on Switch, and I hope this version gets others to try an interesting and emotive JRPG story that I think is well worth playing. When talking about the games coming out in March that I'm most excited for, it's a close tie between Rune Factory 5 and the next game on this list. But with Rune Factory 4 Special being a game that made me get pretty addicted to it quickly, Rune Factory 5 is definitely high on my list of things I'm excited to play this year, and I hope to have a similar kind of experience. It was actually also on my list of most anticipated games for last year as well, but due to some delays, it's coming out at least early this year, with its release date for Switch being on the 22nd of March. And with fond memories of planning crops and making relationships in 4, the idea of doing it all again with better graphics and a new story in this entry has me really looking forward to hopefully spending a lot of time with it. We'll see whether or not it'll get me as addicted to it as 4 did, but after loving that game so much, I absolutely have to play this next entry, and can't wait till we finally see it released in a few months to enjoy the wholesome vibes of Rune Factory in a brand new form. Where March becomes a little complicated is with its other great releases, with one of them being a little game called The Cruel King and the Great Hero, a game with trailers that have made me cry almost every time I've watched them that pretty much solidifies this as a game I have to play. There's just something about its storybook aesthetic and the music in its trailers that really gets me, especially with the feeling of closeness between the hero and the dragon in the trailer, and because of that, I absolutely need to know how on earth this story will lead to the hero and the dragon eventually fighting each other and with one of them potentially being defeated, so it's definitely a game that I'm really interested in. The Cruel King and the Great Hero comes out for Switch and PS4 on the 1st of March, and although it's still between a lot of releases I'm excited for, I'm determined to get some time to play it and probably get all emotional in this interesting and unique looking JRPG with a storybook feel that I hope is as good as it looks and becomes another one of NIS's great and more niche releases. If the beginning of this year couldn't get more crowded, there are 2 more Switch ports I'm excited for this year so far. One of them being Death End Request 2, which I guess you could call an honorable mention for this list, and is another game I'll try to play in February, even if it's just for a little bit. One of the things I'm even more excited for though is .hack.GU Lost Recode, a game that had been originally rejected by Bandai Namco for a Switch release according to developer CyberConnect 2, but in a pleasant surprise was announced for the portable system last year, and as a release I absolutely have to support as I'm just so glad it made it to the platform. It's also a great game. In fact, for those who don't know, it's basically 3 games in one, 4 if you count the epilogue added in this Lost Recode all in one collection. And seeing the trailer reminded me of the epic journey I went on discovering Haseo's story and the exciting anime story notes it hit so well that would be fun to experience again. And with options like its cheat mode to make it easy for those like myself who have played it before, it's nice to know I should be able to make it fit into my gaming time this year too. .hack.GU Lost Recode for Switch will be out on the 11th of March and is another game I hope more people check out, especially if you don't have it for PS4 yet, as it has a great experience that is well worth experiencing that I hope more people try in this new and convenient form. Another game with an anime aesthetic I like that's coming this year is Digimon Survive, and as the interesting tactical JRPG version of a Digimon game we've been promised by Bandai Namco since 2018, I'm excited and hopeful that we'll see the full game this year. Digimon Survive was officially delayed to 2022 last year due to needing more development time to make a higher quality experience, which is always a reason for a delay that I can get behind. And we've seen plenty of progress made on the title throughout the years with videos from Bandai Namco that make the game look really good, so as long as it is, I don't mind when it comes out, although preferably this year would be great as it looks like a lot of fun to play. It doesn't have a release month as of yet, but I'm sure we'll get more details about it this year, and with so many games coming at the beginning of the year, I'm kinda hoping it's a bit later anyway, and look forward to trying this different kind of Digimon game that echoes the anime while bringing in something different to the world of Digimon video games, and hope it's as interesting to play as it looks in its final form. As someone who discovered the Trails series midway through the Cold Steel games, going back into the series is something I've always wanted to do, and with Trails from Zero finally coming to the West sometime in the fall, it looks like I'll finally be able to make the time to do so. Trails from Zero is from the Crossbell arc of the series that has never seen an official localization in the West, and in a lovely move I enjoyed reading about while making this video, NIS is taking the hard work the Geofront team put into fan translations of the two Crossbell games and using it as a base for what will become the official translation to bring these games to the West. I've never personally played Geofront's work, but it's really cool to hear hard work for a series notorious for having a lot of text in it to translate being recognized like this. And while I was already keen to try this part of the series, it makes me definitely want to make the time for it, so I'm really excited to see the backstory to this city that ties into a lot of things in Trails of Cold Steel that I'm sure will help enrich an already deep and satisfying narrative. I have no doubt that Trails fans will support this release, but I hope we see more trailers of it in future that will hopefully get even more people excited to try it. And personally, I'm super keen to jump back into this big series since I haven't played it in a bit, and it should be fun to get lost in the deep world of Trails all over again. The final game in my list of most anticipated ones for this year is Triangle Strategy, a game coming from Square Enix in the crowded month of March on the 4th to Switch, and being by the producer of Octopath Traveler has me excited to explore another HD 2D world all over again. While this list is mostly not in any particular order, there's a reason I'm putting this one towards the bottom, as its demo really impressed me with its tactical gameplay, blend of graphic styles, and even some of its story moments, but it's one I also find myself forgetting compared to a lot of releases on this list for some reason. I did want to put it here in this list though to remind myself that I did spend more time with the demo than I intended to, which meant I enjoyed it more than expected, and it is a game I hope to try and look at some point during the year. With the amount of releases coming out in March, something has to give, so it is likely that I won't get to this one immediately, but it's the kind of game that I think could be good to keep in mind for the quieter points of the year, as I think if it's done well, it could be one of the greats from this year, and will hopefully get me excited to try more of Square Enix's HD 2D releases in the future. And with this game to go with all the other great looking ones from this year, the variety of interesting and different experiences has me excited to keep playing as these releases start to come out in the first quarter of this year and beyond. That already seems like it'll be a fun year of new games. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what you plan to play this year and what you thought of my list. You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links to those will be in the description below, and until next time, thank you, bye!